I redesigned the Airbnb wishlist feature as my application to Kleinerperkins Design Fellowship program. This video is about what I did and how I did it. Airbnb is an app where you can book places to live while you travel. And while you are browsing these places, you can save the ones that you like to a wish list. After browsing long enough, you can come back to your wish list, compare the options you have, and book the one that you like the most. You can share, edit, and delete a wish list. That is the current wish list feature, and my challenge is to make it better. The due date of this challenge was in 20 days when I started this project. I made a plan that would take 10 days to complete, leaving myself a gap for 10 days just in case something happens. And plus, I also need to make this video. I started with understanding the users. I had a list of hypotheses about why people use wishlist and potential pain points of the current user flow. I gathered 5 of my connections and asked them about their last time using Airbnb, their last time using wishlist, and let them run me through what they would do if they are going to book a place for their New Year trip to San Francisco. After the interview, I am super lost. Because although I only interviewed 5 participants, every single one of them have different way of using the wishlist in many different concerns and suggestions. So I made an empathy map for each of the user interview and also tried my best to synthesize the findings. To move on, I knew that I had to better define the problem that I'm trying to solve. So I started with building a main persona. Her name is Alexander. And Alexander represents a typical user that uses Airbnb or that uses the wishlist feature. So Alexander is 30 years old and she wants to plan for her next trip to New York. But she hasn't booked her ticket yet because she's still waiting for her friends to confirm the dates. So Alexander is a holiday lover who needs a way to save the places she wants to stay in New York so that she can prepare early and come back to book her favorite place when the dates are confirmed. But just thinking about Alexander is not enough, so I added 2 more personas just to capture the scope of the potential users. The second persona is Nicholas. Nicholas is someone who uses Airbnb spiritually. Nicholas is 25 years old and he is a frequent traveler. And he needs help to organize his diverse travel ideas into a simple system so that he gets to travel to places that he dreamed of with his best friends. The third persona is Nathan. Nathan is somebody who just started to use Airbnb. Nathan is 60 years old, he is from Manila, Philippines, and he is a lovely grandpa who needs an accessible travel app so that he can get more familiar with traveling products and eventually don't have to depend on his children to plan for his next trip. Now the personas and the problems are better defined, but I also want to define the current state of the problem, which is the current wishlist feature and the current solutions to the problems I define. So I mapped out the current user flows, all the key user actions, and how users try to solve these problems. And my goal is to redesign the wishlist feature so that it solves the problem better than the current solutions. Here comes my favorite part, ideation. I started the ideation session by using a list of how might we questions, but I was stuck. So I changed to another method that I invited, which is using a bubble diagram plus 5 random words. So basically, I put the main problem in the middle and then I use a random word generator to generate 5 random words, put the 5 words on the page and try to ideate from that random word to the problem. In this way, I can get a very diverse range of ideas. I highlighted the ones that I think can solve the problems for Alexander and potentially also for Nicholas and for Nathan. Now it's time to visualize the ideas. So I started by visualizing my ideas with some sketches. And then I made a huge mistake. I thought like, okay, most of my ideas are just like twisting the details of the existing app. How about I just screenshot some of the pages and then design upon the screenshots? Then I spent hours and hours trying to find the best match of the font and trying to adjusting the colors, the sizings, the layers, and all those stuff. And that's why you should never skip low fidelity prototype. So I added 1 new page and started over again from low fidelity prototype. And I made 8 major changes. In the current Airbnb app, when you preview the wishlist, you can only see a photo and the name, and sometimes the date. Sometimes people create 2 wishlists for the same trip, and they are not aware of it. Because there's no preview of how many places are already in the wishlist, they're not sure which one is the correct one. So they just started to use 2 wishlists for the same trip. What I changed is that I add the number of places that's already in the wishlist. This really helps Alexander, Nicholas, and Nathan. It helps an audience to get a sense of the progress they've already made and to distinguish between wishlists that are really similar. In the current version of the app, if you just added a wishlist, let's name it San Francisco, and if you see another listing you want to save to the same wishlist, it will always show you this page again and ask you which wishlist do you want to choose. And sometimes people make mistakes. So what I changed is that each time you open the app, it will only ask you once regarding which wishlist you want to save in. And for the future listing, it will always be saved to the wishlist that you chose last time. But you can always move to a different wishlist. In the current Airbnb app, the naming suggestion for a wishlist is the city, the state, the country. It works, but I feel like it can be a little bit better. And that's why I added a naming feature. So each time you tap this little icon, the app will automatically suggest an interesting name based on the place you want to go and the dates you are going and the number of people that you specified. The fourth thing I added is the note-taking feature. Currently, Airbnb doesn't have any note-taking feature. But what I observed from the user interview is that sometimes Nicholas and Alexander don't use the wishlist feature. Instead, they copy the link and put it to a Google Doc so that they can add personal notes. I added this feature because of this observation. The fifth thing that I changed is added a recently saved section in the wishlist page. This is because sometimes people just want to find that one thing that they saved. And by adding this section, it made a specific listing easy to find, and it also added some hierarchy to the wishlist page so that each time you revisit this page, you can directly see the recent places that you saved. The sixth thing I changed is the way to delete a wishlist. In the current app, you have to go into a wishlist, go to that 3 dots bar, and then click delete the wishlist. All of the participants that I interviewed expected a swipe to delete feature, but it was just not there. That's why I added the swipe to delete feature. Almost there. The seventh thing that I changed is the way to share a wishlist. I don't know why. There are 2 options. The first one is to send a link, and the second one is to invite others. For the first one, people cannot edit, and for the second option, people can edit. I was like, if you share a link, you probably also want your friends to add something, right, to your wish list. So I switched the choice architecture and also adjusted the choice architecture within the options so that the copy link is on top. Okay, this thing didn't really work out. I will explain later. And the final thing I changed is that after you share a wish list and some people join, and they can no longer remove something from your wish list. So instead of people dislike it and then remove it from your wish list, they can only add another like. This thing also didn't work out. I will also explain it later. But that's it for the prototyping session. I brought my prototype to the 5 people that I interviewed earlier, and then I also brought them the original design of the Airbnb app. I asked them to complete certain actions and see which version works better for them. Here's what I learned. The preview places design is pretty nice, so I kept it and I polished in the high fidelity version. The auto save to old wishlist design is great, so I kept it. The name suggestion feature is very confusing, but it's really because of the icon that I designed. Okay, I didn't design the icon, I just used an icon and it didn't work out, so I changed the icon. The feature is not that bothering nor very helpful for Alexander or Nathan, but it is super fun and useful for Nicholas, so I decided to keep it. The note-taking feature is somewhat helpful to Alexander and Nathan and very helpful to Nicholas, so I decided to keep it and polish the look. The recently saved design is somewhat helpful for Alexander and very helpful to Nicholas and Nathan, so I kept it and polished the look. The delete a wishlist design is very helpful to everyone, so I kept it. The share a wishlist feature is interesting. There's something wrong with the original design. People don't really know what's the difference between these 2 options, but people often choose the first one. I thought that they meant to choose the second one, but no, they actually don't want a lot of people to edit their wish list. The shared wish list design is an absolute failure. Nobody really understood what I was trying to do here because they expected consistency across the design of one app. but this really doesn't bring any consistency since this is the like icon, but it performs differently with the like icon before. I just completely scratched off this design and I replaced it with a simple notification confirmation box. And here's the final showcase. Now let me show you the high fidelity prototype. So let's say I want to go to San Francisco during the New Year. I search San Francisco New Year and then this is the result. I look into the first place and I like it. So I type the like icon and it will ask me which wishlist do I want to save it to. I can create a new wishlist. When viewing this, I can also see the number of places already saved into my old wishlist. So now let me create a new wishlist. And the automatic name suggestion will be the city name. I can also change the name by tapping this magic thing. I like New Year in San Francisco better, so I will save it with this name. Create. Once saved, it will give me a notification bar. And I can also take note by tapping this. I will say, great design close to Mia's home. And done. Perfect. Now I continue browsing housing for my San Francisco trip. And I like this place too. So I will tap the like bar and then it will directly save to the wishlist that I just created. But I can always move it to another wishlist. But for now, let's just keep it in the New Year in San Francisco wishlist. Now let me take you to the wishlist page. There's a recently saved bar, so you can always check what I just saved to my wishlist. Let's see our New Year in San Francisco list. If I want to share this list with somebody, I can click the share icon and then I can send a link or invite others. By inviting other people, I give them the right to edit or add something to my wish list. So let's do invite others. And for this page, I put the copy link to the first choice and the second group will be sharing this via a messaging app. So for now, let's copy the link. Because this one is invite others, so when people join in, you can actually see the profile picture here. And if you want to remove something from the shared wish list, I designed a little pop-up notification bar asking you, are you sure you want to remove it from everyone's wish list? And for now, let's just cancel it. Let's go back to our wish list. In order to delete a wish list, we can simply just swipe left. And here we go, we can delete it. For now, we can cancel because I like New York. That's it. Thank you. Thank you for staying with me until this point. I just want to say that if this entire challenge is not a take-home design challenge, but rather an actual design challenge in an actual company like Airbnb, then there's something I would do differently. Well, first of all, the design decision won't just be dependent on 5 participants' answer. There's probably a UX research team that will do the UX research and data analysts that provide real data to back up design decisions. And plus, usually any design with the least effort that leads to the largest impact will be implemented first. So anything is always a collaboration among the engineers, the PM, designer, or other stakeholders. Sometimes the designer thinks this is just a small design change, but for the engineers, it's really a huge change because it might mean a change to the database or thousands of unit tests. We never really know what is, more implementable without asking for other stakeholders. Even though there's so many difficulties, I still think trying to make the most understandable and accessible product for everyone is super important. And I sincerely wish for a future where tech products are very considerate and inclusive. Thank you very much. My name is Aliena and I'm professionally known as Elena. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. That will help me a lot. And if you like my video, please give it a like. It will help a lot with my application to this program. And please leave a comment down below. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye bye.